Magandang buhay sa iyo lahat. This is Lama Rock. Maraming salamat sa iyo lahat. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hey, last night was a pretty crazy night. In terms of like something quite eventful happened out at Section 8. So it was a pretty quiet night. We got there around 9 o'clock, 9:30. And DJ Tofu was dropping some boogie funk, straight vinyl records, and we were there, and to get my mind off things, and just try and stay healthy and get my cardio up. We were boogieing down, and we were messing about as we do every Tuesday at Section 8. Shout outs to Amber for keeping that place pumping. Shout outs to Condensed Milk for dropping the funk and getting other dope DJs on the decks every week and every month. So anyway, after about an hour or two of dancing, Tofu finished DJing, and then our boy, BBoy Boyo from the Bronx, MZK Ready to Rock, he calls out Tofu. And by this stage, the new DJ's gone on, and he switched the vibe up from boogie to house. And what was dope about this DJ is he kept it real. He played some legit like OG house, like that real underground shit. But I think your average punter didn't really know what kind of music that was, so they didn't really know how to dance to it. So slowly the floor emptied out, and it was perfect timing for Poyo to call Tofu straight out, unprepared. But luckily, Tofu is always ready to go because he trains a lot, unlike myself. So that being said, these guys went about at least 10 rounds, and if there's footage floating around somewhere, I'll try to get it. I think Mama Dosa recorded, yeah, she did. She recorded me doing some commentary, and I was messing about doing it in a kind of Oka kind of, horse racing, fast-paced commentary style. Anyways, at the end of this battle, like it was pretty heated. Like we're talking about a surface that's uneven, is asphalt. If you're hardcore, you definitely bust a head spin on it, or a 90 or something like that. But you definitely hurt yourself. You'll definitely get scrapes and burns. But these guys went in, and it was like a throwback to like the days when we used to go to laundry on a Monday night way back in 2001, 2002, 2003. And the whole venue, the venue was decently packed, but the floor was empty. And at the end of the battle, as soon as they shook hands, the whole bar, all of Section 8, everyone there clapped their hands, as if they enjoyed this battle that happened between, two B-boys. So, as a old school fuckwit would do, I don't know if that's gonna flip on this YouTube, but I had to go up to them and give them props. You know what I mean? I'd be like, "Yo, guys, thank you for bringing me back." Like that was how it used to be back in the day. Like I remember there was a time when Fresh Socks called out the Rogue Squadron, and we had who do we have? We had Ian. Might not even have been Fresh Socks. It might have been a crew before Fresh Socks. But we called out the Rogue Squadron, and we battled them at laundry. We were all dressed up. Like these guys were in their sweats, and they didn't know they went that kind of B-boy, so to speak. But shout outs to you guys, because you guys are part of Melbourne B-boy history. And fuck, we went in, and by the 20-minute mark or 30-minute mark, they were like, yeah, we wanna wrap it up here. But we kept on going, and that's what it felt like when we saw Tofu versus B-boy Poyo last night. The thing though that I do want to address, and my boy Poyo's still asleep upstairs, but I'll talk to him about it, and to Tofu as well, is that they battled, but I wouldn't necessarily consider that a B-boy battle. Reason being is as the great Alien S said, you know, you got to take the safety off. You know, like both these b-boys are able. They can do like a lot of power moves. They have good freezes, and it wasn't really towards the end that they start hitting the ground like that. But this ended up becoming more of a dance battle. Now, I, as a b-boy, over a 20-year period, there was a moment where I identified myself more as a dancer than a b-boy. And that's why if you were to look at my style, I've learned popping, mainly boogaloo style. I've learned locking, learned a bit of house. You know, I messed around with crump. Uh, I love rocking because they're all very, very dance orientated, you know, or the styles that I do anyway. There's no faking the funk with these styles. And I think breaking used to be like that. Like the videos that we used to watch, like Ken Swift, Flormaster, Maurizio, um, who else? Gizmo, yeah, and a few other crews. There's more crews that I want to mention, but they kind of have a different sort of. They had a different impact on the history of breaking. But these guys, when they were battling, they were mainly up on top, and you know they were hitting the beats, and they were funking out. They were taking the safety off their upright. But when they hit the ground, there were moments when they smashed it, but it still wasn't like it still wasn't that level. And excuse me for being old school fuckwit, but it wasn't to that level of roasting someone. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a b-boy and you say you're b-boying, forget about what b-boying is now. It's like, if you're true to the roots, if you're true to the essence of what you do, then you gotta roast the dude. You gotta smoke him. And I think, to be honest, roasting someone, especially if you're the kind of b-boy who talks about being raw and being able to freestyle all the time, if you're truly that kind of b-boy, then to roast someone, you're kind of roasting yourself at the same time. Fucking oath, you're gonna do a fucking head spin on that asphalt. If it's got the burn, that's gonna take out your opponent. You know what I'm saying? On the other hand, though, like, you know, we learned this from Bomb 5. Now, I've heard some things about Bomb 5, but shout outs to you, Bomb 5. I love you. Thank you so much for looking after us in South Korea when we were there. But what Bomb 5 said is, what do you know about finesse? What do you know about finesse? And the only true way to learn finesse is if you truly understand the essence of hip hop. Why you got to be slick? Why you got to be smooth? Why you got to be nice? You know, it's not necessarily about doing the craziest, rawest shit. Even in battle, you can come gracefully, you can come clean. You know, it just depends on your feelings, the kind of person you are, or how you feel in the moment to the song. So already from the get-go, this wasn't really a b-boy battle because they were dancing house music. If you're breaking, you break to the break, and house is, you could technically say, is a break in terms of music terms, but it's not a break beat from funk or rock. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not putting down my boys because they demonstrated something quite historic, and I really want to talk about it. I want to get this footage out too, that little bit of footage that was there that I filmed. But you know, I think some b-boys. I'm reaching out to the community here in Melbourne, yeah, maybe some of the new school cats all around the world. If you're tuned into this video, it's like dancing is a prerequisite. You know, it's like something you should already have. This is why social dancing is important. This is where I think the fact that, especially in places like Australia, no one really slow dances with each other, unless maybe you're at a reggaeton club or something like that. But you know, it's like that kind of sexual dancing, if you permit me to say, between whoever, you know. We won't go into like sexual orientation here, but it's like that's where you learn your flavor. That's where you learn to sort of like be sensitive to the person you're dancing with's rhythm, and whether you lead or the other person is leading. You know, it's not like salsa. Salsa is the man leads all the time, but I'm saying, you know, another step before that or after that, where you can really intimate with someone, you know, like, or even just having a dance, you know, you're not going, it's no DTF shit, it's no Tinder shit, it's just like, you don't know this person, but they're on the dance floor, you caught her eye, you're dancing together, you don't even talk, and then afterwards you talk, yeah? Like, that's where my foundation comes from. That's part of my foundation. And from that, it teaches you how to be sensitive to the music. So if the music is going dun 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 dun, you know, it's like it's all on the ups. Even if you don't know the horns, the steps, and you've never heard the song, you just sensitively know that it's just gonna go up, 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 pop, bum, and then the music kicks in, and that's why I think every b-boy should learn rocking, because rocking, if you're not already a good dancer, rocking will teach you how to dance. Do you know what I'm saying? And so it's like when the break hits, and I hate that b-boys diss the old school anthems, the original anthems of our culture, and I hate how b-boys don't want to listen to some of the old school classics. It's a fucking classic, you know. You should already know that. If you're over it, you know, you've lost the point. You know what I mean? When the breaks are back to back, if the DJ's good, he loops that break. He does the merry-go-round on that break. What? If we're counting in eights, like 4 bars are 8, maybe 6, you know, maybe 8 bars are 8. You know, if it's like 101, you know, and then he switches up because he's the one controlling the mood. He's at the top of the tempo. You know what I mean? As in, you know, without being all like mystic and shit. He's like, if there's no DJ, then there's no MC, then there's no fucking judges in his competition, and there's no dancers. Yeah. But you take away the competition. If there's no DJ, then there's no party. Do you know what I'm saying? And so, if we get that correct, and we get people dancing correct, then we can focus on being a b-boy. So back to the point. I always digress. Excuse me. But it's like, it wasn't until 10 years of being a dancer, then I realized that I'm not being a b-boy. I think Cujo came to a similar conclusion when he used to talk about being original and doing things like that with the whole soul control movement back in the day. Even though he came from a crew of power movers, you know, he realized that if he's going to be using the art form of b-boy, he needs to show respect to it. You know, I think some of you guys out there, if you've never thought about it, you claim hip-hop to be your culture, as I did, right? And, you know, if you're in your teenage years or you're in your early 20s, you're going to be real hard-headed and you're going to be real solid about representing your selected, you know, art form or culture. But there's one thing you got to realize, guys. Don't appropriate culture, yeah? What if I was to, like, and this is pretty racist, yeah? What if I was to paint my face black, you know, augment my nose, you know, right? Make my lips big and have dominant, yeah, this is a technical term, have dominant traits, and then try to act like, you know, a native Filipino. You know, I'm Filipino. I have indigenous blood in me, but I am not considered an Igorot or there's many different types of indigenous Filipinos. Even worse yet, right? If I tried to pass off as an African or African American, you wouldn't do that, yeah? Or if I was not Asian and I put makeup to make my eyes seem slantier, right? Put on a friggin' Asian straw hat, you know, and wear silk, you know, tops. That's appropriating the culture, yeah? That's what I think a lot of people are doing, and they're not getting to the point. They're not getting to the core of what it means to be a b-boy. If you're a b-boy, you got to understand those elements, which I'll try to break down, but it's been a while since I've done it, yeah? It's like breaking is short and sweet, yeah? Breaking is straight to the point. Breaking is about a perfect blend, balance of top rock, drop, footwork, power move, freeze, yeah? Breaking is about breaking out. Breaking is about having style and finesse, yeah? Breaking has moments when it's raw, but breaking, in essence, is fresh. It's smooth. It's always looking nice, yeah? The competition world is a whole different thing. You want to call that breaking, you want to call that b-boying, I have nothing against you, because that's part and parcel of what this culture has evolved into, or what this activity of our culture has evolved to. But I'm concerned more primarily with the culture, because I identify breaking or b-boying with dancing because I learned in a bar, I learned in a club, I learned in social settings. Yes, I did take classes in a gym, but when we did go out and where I did most of my learning, it's like transitioning from street ball to a wooden ball court. In a wooden ball court, you need to be more technical. You need to know plays. You need to know now how not to just be a flashy guy and go for that fast break and lay up. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like that. That's for the street, yeah. And so when we were dancing in spaces this small, and we would only get maybe 20 minutes, if not 30 minutes max, to dance at any bar or club that we were at, right? Because the DJ and the club owners knew, right, that there were other people there to dance too. It wasn't just the dancers. Somehow, for some reason here in Melbourne, dancers think that they have the priority, that they should always hog the floor, that they should have the most space. Motherfuckers, when we were fucking dancing in the friggin' early 2000s, we had a small space and we always tucked away ourselves in the corner, or we made space where we could, but we never hogged the dance floor like it was watch me, watch me. It was about our crew. It was about Fresh Socks, and anyone else who was down in the cypher at that moment. Before we even called it ciphering, even before we understood that concept. Do you know what I mean? And then what would happen was the reason why we could get into these bars for free and then get drink cards by the management and the promoters who didn't even know us. They knew that we brought them business. So we would come in, we would dance. The DJ knew, because of his DJ was a hip hop DJ, so he knew that he needed to cater for the B-boys so that we would continue to come back. But he also knew that he had to play for the crowd, right? And so if the floor wasn't happening, then we would come in, we'll do a 10-15 minute thing. Then the DJ would literally stop, get on the mic, like, yo, give a massive shout out to the B-boys. And then everyone, by that stage, the club would have, or the bar would have filled up, and everyone would be clapping their hands. And then all of a sudden, the DJ would drop some funky track. I forget the name of that track, but it was like a rapper slash singer with a funk band from Soul Sides. I think it was Soul Sides. He would drop this track and the floor would fill up slowly, and then we would go out because we've been smashing it for 15-30 minutes. We'd get our drinks. This was before I was smoking cigarettes. And then, yeah, that was the night. And then because it was only like 10 p.m., it got packed real early back in the day. It was only 10 p.m. We would find a little place and we'd start dancing, right? And then the crowd would want to move back to make space for us. It was like, no, keep it small, keep it small. That's how we discovered ciphering. That's how we did breaking back in the day. And mind you, in that space, we didn't top rock the whole time. Yeah, we top rock to begin, like the original way of battling, where if it was crew versus crew, top rock, then top rock, top rock, top rock, top rock. We just top rock like that, and then all of a sudden someone might do a get down, like a front sweep back up, or knee drop back up, or a get down like James Brown, or something like this. And then slowly the levels of the dance kept rising, and then all of a sudden dudes were just throwing power. And that might have been a late 70s, early 80s way of battling. I don't know. That's the kind of information I want to hear from like triple OGs in the game. No, it's only Alien S that I've heard speak like that, and Ken Swift and certain guys from those early generations. They talk about that, but it seems like all of that's gone out the window for breaking these days. That's why I don't identify with b-boying or breaking these days. You know what I mean? And also, I'm still pretty much, from my habits in the past 10-20 years, come from being a dancer. And when I realized I was faking the funk as a b-boy, then I realized what it really meant to be a b-boy. For a b-boy, you gotta complete all these elements. You have to know how to throw down and burn. There's no time to mess around when you're breaking. Same in a big competition stage battle. You have to bring the heat at round one. And these days, it's so hard for you guys, and even harder for me, because guys are doing 1-minute runs. They're doing marathon runs on the floor. And sometimes because they're trying to put so much into such a small, like originally it was a burst. It was breaking out. You can't break out, like, you can't have a friggin' 1-minute orgasm. It's like fucking stupid. You can't have that, and you can't be like, like that for a whole minute because people become desensitized to that energy that you're putting out. But not to diss, commercial breaking, because, it's part and parcel of this cycle. Underground cats have opportunity to move into the overground, like the Japanese say, and then the overground cats who might retire or feel like, top tier breaking events is not their thing anymore, they can come back to the underground and help. It's like rapping, it's like MCing. So I digressed a bit, but yeah, for me to be a true b-boy, you need to roast, you need to burn, you need to not worry about like dancing and hitting the beat. Leave that to the other dancers. If you're a b-boy, you come to burn, and it's a thing that it's kind of working out for me right now because I'm going through some shit. But it's like when I was younger, before I was, quite paralyzed from, or became quite complacent from smoking cigarettes, and I had my daughter, and I was being more of a family man. Like, I used to be a real angry guy. Me and my ex-wife we used to punch on all the time. We used to punch on, like not physically, but like, there was always, arguments between us because I was just a passively aggressive, angry guy. And how did I deal with my issues? I didn't get wasted on the weekend and pick fights, I didn't even drink back in the day or smoke. I used to go to these bars like First Floor, Laundry, the Lounge, sometimes the Evelyn. We went Fitzroy most of the time when it was still hippie, when it was still the Latin Quarters, before Nightcat. We were there. And we were rocking all the hip hop nights. And we just used to smash the floor. We'd go ham. We would do runs, like once we threw down, we just smashed it. There was no like trying to hit the beats, this and that. I mean, there was, because that was the prevailing trend at the time, but it was still a lot more flowing. It just flowed, you hit these accents of the beat through your flow, not the other way around. You didn't go dun 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 with your full work, stop, and then do a slow move, dun dun. It's like, that's not breaking. That's fucking hit the beat karaoke. Yeah. When you're rocking, it's different. When you're upright and you're doing up rock, yeah, you can do that. But for breaking, it's like, if you're gonna, just like Phantom, just like Vix, if you're gonna transition, if you're gonna like make a mixture of rocking and breaking, you have to know both first. But b-boys now, I don't know what the fuck they know except for the new school moves. And that's good too, and I'm learning from you guys watching that, and I'm not disrespecting you guys, but what I'm trying to say is just like, some things are being lost. So that's why I did this post. Yeah, when you go out and battle, fucking smash it. I'll continue my chat in the future. Thank you for tuning in. This is Llama Rock, and maybe this is going to be a segment, old school fuck with. Peace out.